Well, hello and welcome to Berlin ahead of this weekend's Berlin E-Prix. Formula E are racing in Berlin for the fourth time, the third time here at the very historic Berlin Tempelhof Airport. But it's also a very exciting day because it is the day that Formula E and Modus are launching the Innovation Manager Challenge, and I'm very pleased to say that I am joined by some fantastic guests here. The CEO of Modus Germany, Sebastiaan Krol. Thank you for joining us. We also have Mahindra's racing driver, Nick Heidfeld, and also the head of technology, Ernst. Thanks guys very much for joining us. Eric, kick us off. What is Innovation Manager Challenge? There we go.
Well, it's a product that Modus and Formula E have initialized to give someone a 6-month possibility to come and work with Formula E. We're looking for a person to help us innovate the way we produce our event from a technology point of view. So help us organize, help us through all the processes. You can imagine building a racetrack in the middle of a city has a lot of complexity, and we want someone to try to help us streamline those processes, help us with a technology product to get the delivery right and get it on time there.
So this is a really fantastic opportunity to properly get behind the scenes of Formula E, which is such a, fast-paced, innovative sport to get involved with. What can the winner really look forward to?
Well, you're going to be in touch with almost anything because you're going to have to understand the entire event to understand the processes. So it'll be everything from logistics to how the event unfolds on event day, to organizing requirement we have commercially, all these things. And what we're really looking for is a person that can wear a lot of hats, because you'll be doing some very, very highly sophisticated work, and other times here, like in Formula A, we need to do a couple of things that are not so sophisticated but absolutely as important. So that is diverse. Every day is very, very different. You do not know what you're going to be expecting every day. A great team. We have an amazing team that built this in the last few seasons, and it's an amazing place to work. So it's going to be an experience of a lifetime, I think.
No, I mean, I would agree with you there, Eric. It is an amazing place to work. I've been here since the beginning in Beijing, 2014. So what's that? Coming up to 4 years now. Nick, you've been pretty much here since the beginning as well. But how important is it for you guys, for the team, for Mahindra, to have the right people behind you, to find the right engineers, the right mechanics that really have the right mindset to come into racing in a Formula E team?
Obviously that's crucial. The team is getting bigger, the teams in Formula E are growing, and you can imagine if you have a team maybe not too far away of 100 people, if you don't have the right guy in the right position with the right mindset especially, it's not going to work out. And obviously this is what makes this team strong, and this is what we're all working towards.
Because I guess, you guys are sort of the icing on top of the cake. You come in on race day, you show off, hopefully claim that podium position. But it's all the ingredients that goes into the cake. It's all that, the team effort behind it. I mean, so much work goes into the preparation before a race, doesn't it?
Yes, it's hard to imagine for people who are not so into motorsport and into Formula E, and it's actually something I also enjoy a lot. Obviously the driving is fantastic, competing, being on the limit, but working with the team, working with the engineer, finding new solutions, or first of all finding some problems, and then work together to be a bit better than the others, and especially to find the solution earlier. This is always what I try to work towards, especially since Formula E was only there 4 years ago. I said from the beginning on, now is the time. We need to be ahead of the others and then keep the advantage.
I mean, how much of a difference does it make for you having the right race engineer? How many different race engineers have you had since the beginning of Formula E, and how's that changed your journey throughout?
Well, I've changed the teams after season 1. I've had a few different engineers. I have to say that I was quite happy with most of them. During my career, there were just 2 or 3 guys I was not really happy with, which doesn't mean they were not good. But it's also a very human element in it, obviously. They can be very clever, but you still need to get along and you need to speak the same language.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, Sebastiaan, your sort of area of expertise really is technology and talent and bringing them together. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be one of the most popular men in the Formula E pit lane very soon.
I hope so.
You're going to have a lot of team principals coming up to you. But what can you really bring to Formula E and the paddock in the years to come?
Well,
As you just said, and it's really getting back to what Nick just said, I mean, for me, we're a 35,000 man company and we're filled with talent, obviously. But I don't think that that's what makes a difference. What really makes a difference, what Nick just said, it's the mindset of the people. People join a company, they join because they want to make a difference, because they want to help in making step changes in the way we develop technology. And I think that's exactly what the Formula E racing is all about, right? It's about making a step change. So I think that the mindset will really vastly contribute to what we see here down the pit lane.
And what opportunity, I suppose, you know, to a young graduate or to aspiring engineer, what opportunities do you think e-mobility and Formula E actually have as an industry? Why should they pursue a career in this area?
Well, seriously, I think it's all about, for me, Formula E is really pioneering the e-mobility technology of tomorrow, right? So for any bright mind young guy who wants to work in there and wants to contribute to making a real change in the way we move people from A to B, I really couldn't imagine any better place than this here, learning from and contributing to the teams who are really defining and developing the technology of tomorrow, but doing it today, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really is so cutting edge, especially at the moment. You know, you've got so many cities coming out saying, you know, they're going to be all electric by whether it's 2030 or 2025, depending on what city you are. So really, in terms of engineering, e-mobility is at the cutting edge of it.
Absolutely, and I think what we see in the cars down here is really what we'll see, you know, somewhere a year or 2 years down the road, which we'll see all in our serial cars, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see any better learning base than the pit lane downstairs here.
Yeah, exactly, and it's great fun as well.
Exactly.
Eric, tell us, what are you looking for? Who is your ideal candidate? If you could, you know, create him from your mind, who would your ideal candidate
Well, it's like
be
we
that
said
you're
before, I
looking
think if we can land a rocket on a platform, he should apply. No, it's like we talked before, mindset.
Yeah.
You need to be a really open-minded person, because we build a little city here almost when we go to these races, because we have charging, we have roads, we do logistics. So it needs to be someone that can think outside of the box. How do we solve these challenges on a global level? Because something that's really easy in Berlin is going to be super hard in Hong Kong, and totally different approach in France. So it needs to be a little bit of a person who doesn't like sticking to the way things have been going for the last 20 years maybe in industries, and have a bit, like the title says, a bit of innovation, a bit of thinking outside the box and going towards, and not being afraid saying I want to try this, because we would definitely, and I would definitely push that person to say, okay, you want to try this? Good, well, let's try it. You know, that's the whole point of this. I mean, if no one would have ever tried building a car with batteries, we probably wouldn't be here by now, you know. So it's all about that, and it's try, fail until we got the solution that we need.
Good. So it's mindset, right? So anyone can apply, really, if you've got the right mindset.
Of course.
You're not looking for a certain specification or a degree or qualification.
Landing rockets on platforms.
Okay, that too.
Pretty good.
That helps.
Gets you pretty high up there.
We'll try our best to get
Yeah.
I mean, it is quite incredible the way that, you know, this whole infrastructure moves around the world. It's different for every race and every city, and it comes with its own challenges. But Nick, from your point of view, what do you think it is that makes working in motor racing so rewarding? I know obviously being a racing driver is one of the many jobs, but you know, I ended up working in motor racing as a reporter because I love motor racing, and I knew unfortunately I wasn't good enough to be a racing driver, so I found another job to work in this industry. Why is it so rewarding for others?
I think it's because you don't do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
This is also for me as a racing driver, which is fantastic, and that you are challenged and that you can try new paths and new ideas to solve something, to find solutions. I personally enjoy that a lot, and I think it's the same with many people and engineers working here.
It really is that every day is different, isn't it? I mean, I still feel like this is a new job for me, and I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm not sure if it will ever feel old. I mean, Eric, you're quite new in the job though, actually, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been only about 4 months here. Yeah, my world before was events as well, but it was in the world of sailing. So similar event challenges, but a very different sport. So.
Yeah. Nick, I'd love to get your opinion. Obviously, it's recently been announced that Felipe Massa is joining the Formula E grid. Now, you've obviously been a very successful former Formula One driver. We've got quite a few others in the pit lane as well. What do you think of his move?
I'm looking forward to seeing, because we were teammates back in 2001 2002, I think, at Sauber.
Wow, you're really showing your age there, Nick.
I hope you cannot calculate that well. But he's a fantastic guy. I mean, he's loved all around the world. In every paddock, he's quick, and they're looking forward to meet him again more and more.
Meeting him. Have you seen him since? Have you seen him recently?
I've seen him in Rome. He was there at the Formula E race, giving us a visit. Yeah.
So it was you gave him some words of wisdom. No.
Well, we saw each other briefly on the circuit, but they normally don't have much time. And Formula E is also about after parties and events, so it's not only engineering, it's also additional fun afterwards sometimes if you not jump on a plane. And so we had some time to talk a bit. And he's enjoying his life, and definitely back then he hadn't signed yet. He has now, and he was already looking to find a good place.
I mean, what happens when you have a mate that joins a racing championship that you're effectively competing against? Do you give them any help and tips, or do you just see them as a competitor and keep quiet?
I do, as long as they are in the same team as me, and probably there are a lot of people who wouldn't do the same, and also in hindsight a lot of people who would say I do that too much, but I just like it, I just enjoy it if it's a nice guy, like Felix, for example. I didn't meet many teammates in my career which I didn't like, so normally I'm very open and helpful, and I try to beat them fair and square with being open and having the same material as the others, which proves quite difficult this year with Felix.
Yeah, that is true. Although I think Felix definitely benefited from your sportsmanly approach, that's for sure. Sebastian, as the sport becomes more and more high profile, bigger, better, we've got new drivers joining new teams, the likes of Mercedes, obviously Audi this year, Porsche, all joining in season 6. The car's getting quicker. We've got the next gen car for season 5. I mean, it's really becoming a lot bigger. How do you think Modus can help with that innovation and the championship developing?
It's obviously not a simple question to answer, right? But I do think that if you take a look at what we do, there's one thing which really prevails, and I believe that really does make a difference. The engineers and the people who work for a company look at problems from a different angle than I think the usual engineer does, right? Take the example of a car. It's not just that you sit in, it needs to have a wheel, it needs to have a gearbox, it has, we don't look at it this way. We look at problems from a holistic standpoint of view, right? It's about getting a person from A to B whilst feeling comfortable, whilst being amused, entertained, or whatever. And doing this, we encompass all this new technology which has become available these last years, like autonomous driving, connected cars, e-mobility, obviously, to find new solutions to old problems, but by looking at it from a holistic way. And technology, especially the ones which we see down here in the pit lane, but also elsewhere, really defies the rules of what is possible today. Just imagine about, creating, for example, an autonomous vehicle to move around blind people, or a health monitoring system in a car which will make your drive safer, or anything which goes about that. So I think really one of the assets which we have is looking at the problems from a different perspective, and I actually hope that the people who do this will contribute vastly also in the framework of the challenge to solve your problems differently in a more innovative way, I guess.
No, I'm sure they will. I mean, everybody contributes a little bit to it, to contribute to the problem of e-mobility and contributes to the problem of getting us to where we need to go.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you as well for watching. Hopefully this has inspired you to apply for the Innovation Manager Challenge. It sounds pretty awesome. I think I might even apply. Make sure you do head to the Modus website for more information. But for now, we have a race on our hands. Jean-Eric Vergne, the current championship leader, is he going to make it a 4th time on the top step of the podium? Who knows? We're about to find out. But for any more information, make sure you keep up to date with everything on social media, on the Formula E and the Modus Twitter and Facebook page, and we'll see you soon.